Instinct is a force that lives within us, and we call upon it when we need to. We need to keep an eye on the other human experiences, to give ourselves the fullness and the breadth of our own humanity. I've learned that I must find positive outlets for anger, or it will destroy me. I have to try to find a way to channel that anger to the positive, and the highest positive is forgiveness. A person doesn't have to change who he is to become better. I think the way I want to think. I live the way I want to live. Forgiveness works two ways, in most instances. People have to forgive themselves, too. The powerful have to forgive themselves for their behavior. That should be a sacred process. I am the me I choose to be. We are what we are, and half of what we are is what we are not. There is not racial or ethnic domination of hopelessness. It's everywhere. I had chosen to use my work as a reflection of my values. I always wanted to be someone better the next day than I was the day before. We all suffer from the preoccupation that there exists, in the loved one, perfection. So much of life, it seems to me, is determined by pure randomness. Generally, I tend to despise human behavior rather than human creatures. A good deed here, a good deed there, a good thought here, a good comment there, all added up to my career in one way or another. I never had an occasion to question color, therefore, I only saw myself as what I was, a human being. I wouldn't change a single thing, because one change alters every moment that follows it. Every new fashion is a form of rebellion. When you walk with someone, something unspoken happens. Either you match their pace, or they match yours. We're all imperfect, and life is simply a perpetual, unending struggle against those imperfections. Racism is very painful. That's life. It never ends. The older we get, the less afraid we are. Except that environment compromises values far more than values do their number on environment. Acting isn't a game of pretend. It's an exercise in being real. Greed and cruelty are pretty widely distributed throughout humanity, as are their victims. The willingness to receive help and appreciate its value, and it arrives, sometimes unannounced, is a subject that returns us to the question of why and how our lives turn out as they do. The great disease of mankind is ignorance. We're all somewhat courageous, and we're all considerably cowardly. We're all imperfect, and life is simply a perpetual, unending struggle against those imperfections. We put our kids to 15 years of quick-cut advertising, passive television watching, and sadistic video games, and we expect to see emerge a new generation of calm, compassionate, and engaged human beings? I set my star so high that I would constantly be in motion toward it. True joy is the difference between just amusing ourselves to and creating meaningful pleasure. If you apologize because you are afraid, then you are a child, not a man. I defend myself by improving myself. I'll always be chasing you. Glory. I have always been a learner because I knew nothing. Marriage is no way of life for the weak, the selfish, or the insecure. I decided in my life that I would do nothing that did not reflect positively on my father's life. So it's been kind of a long road, but it was a good journey altogether. So I'm okay with myself, with history, my work, who I am and who I was. History passes the final judgment. When I set out to become an actor, I had set myself a standard. If you apply reason and logic to this career of mine, you're not going to get very far. You simply won't. If I'm remembered for having done a few good things, and if my presence here has sparked some good energies, that's plenty. Of all my father's teachings, the most enduring was the one about the true measure of a man. That true measure was how well he provided for his children, and it stuck with me as if it were etched in my brain. I am not a hugely religious person, but I believe that there is a oneness with everything. And because there is this oneness, it is possible that my mother is the principal reason for my life. If you are anxious about death, then you don't have a sense of the oneness of things. You feel that after death, you will be no more.